Hey guys, Alex here with Mini Moto Garage. Hopefully you all are doing well. Today we're going to be diving into our $200 mini bike. I picked this thing up a couple of months ago and it was in really nice shape, but non-running condition. We're going to see what we got to do to get this thing fixed, and then we can discuss the build. All right, and here's what we've got. This is the AXIS M200. I think these were sold by Lowe's, but basically the same thing as like the CT200U EXs. 196 Honda clone engine. Does have a few aftermarket goodies on this machine. It has, I believe, a 22 millimeter carb on it, air breather. There is some grips, a nibby throttle, and got this really cheap screamer pipe on it, which that thing's gonna have to go. Also on these engines, they are running a jack shaft setup, so you have a clutch underneath here, which goes to a jack shaft, and then there's another sprocket that runs the chain to the back. But a lot of people are either running straight chain or go with the 30 series torque converter. The back tire is almost a racing slick on it, so definitely had some use. Has front shocks on this one, charging coil on this engine for a headlight, and there is some wires that are disconnected on here. When I went to go check this thing out, tried to pull it a few times, the guy said that it ran great before it was parked, and that's pretty much all the info he had on it. It was his teenagers, and he had lost interest in it. So we're gonna pull this thing in the shop, start checking everything over on it, and see what we gotta do to get this thing running. Let me know what you guys think, if we got a good deal on this bike or not. First thing I wanna do is just check the oil. I put the floor jack under it so we could get this thing level. And on these engines, you want to unthread, and then when you go to actually check the level on it, you don't thread it back in, you just dip it in and then check. About a third of the way up the stick. It's pretty dark, but that should be enough for us to run. I don't believe that these ones have the oil sensor. I'll take a look around this engine, but I don't think that they do, like the low oil shutdown. All right, with a decent oil level, we'll just go ahead. What I want to do, now I did throw some fresh fuel in here the other day and tried to pull on it and still got nothing. We'll go ahead, I'm gonna throw on the spark checker real quick, we'll see what we've got. I did take a quick look at these wires and it looks like it's just the two leads. One goes to the coil, and I think that green one is supposed to be grounded somewhere here to the block, but we'll figure that out. So let's check for spark and then we'll go from there. Now we could just pull the plug out and put the prongs onto the block to check, but I actually have a spark checker, so I'll set you guys up here, make sure you can see, and then we'll just be looking for a orange glow on the spark checker. You guys can tell me if you see anything or not. So we definitely got a spark. Hopefully that's showing up on camera. I think what we'll do, I'm gonna pop off that air filter and we'll shoot a little carb spray in there and see if this thing will kick over for us. All right, I went ahead and moved it up against something hard here, because if this thing does start up, I don't want it trying to take off. I'm just gonna go ahead and open up the throttle a little bit and we'll see what it does. Well, she's popping over. Looks like we got us a runner. I don't think that there's any kind of fuel shutoff on these. I believe it just comes straight from the bottom of the tank and then routes in, which this fuel line routing doesn't look the best either. But what we can do is just pop this line off real quick, check to make sure we're getting fuel flow. And if there is fuel flow into here, then more than likely we've just got something stopped up in the carb. And this line on here seems pretty stiff too. Most of these aftermarket like clear hoses, they get pretty stiff. So we definitely have flow. All right. Spilling fuel everywhere. Let me back you guys up. We'll try a few more pulls with the choke on. All right, choke is on. Try it with the choke off a couple more times. I say we're probably just gonna go ahead and get this carb pulled off. All right, I was just trying to figure out sizes. It's a 10mm nut on the back and the Allen on the front. Not sure if that was probably just the hardware included with whatever knockoff carb this is. So we just need to unscrew, pull our slide up. There's definitely some gunk on the needle here, but I'll show you guys everything once we get this off. Didn't seem too tight on there. And these things are known for air leaks as well. You know, a lot of times if the gasket's not on there properly and you've got to line up these, this one has like a adapter tube that comes out. And sometimes if these aren't lined up properly, you're not going to get good airflow or good sealing. You're going to have an air leak. So no matter how hard you try to jet this thing, it's going to be all over the place. Let me get this fuel line off and out of the way. All right, just pop that fuel hose off, and what I noticed right off the bat is that we've got an O-ring on the carb side that seals here, and then we just have this green gasket. I was looking to make sure, and it looks like everything was sealed up the way it was supposed to, but on this little intake adapter, it is broken off on the ear, but I don't think that's going to affect our sealing, but we shall see. That's really about it for the carb removal. Let's go crack this thing open and see what it looks like on the inside. Alright, just the 4 screws on the bottom. We'll see if this is totally stock on the inside or if this maybe has been jetted before. I'm not sure what the jet sizes should be, but I can look that up too for a, yeah, this looks terrible in here. If you guys can see how green that is. This one's definitely been sitting for a bit. It's all gritty in here too, like sand. But it looks like what we've got here is our smaller one is going to be our pilot, and then we've got our main here on top. Pop out our float. Let me grab some tools so I'll get all this loosened up. We'll see what jets are blocked or both. But the fuel I put in here the other day was some non-ethanol. I don't know what was in here before. Probably just some regular pump gas. Alright, so float is out. The needle looks pretty good on here. You just want to make sure that that rubber tip is not distorted or messed up at all. And it looks like, so the pilot on here, pilot is a 36, and that is completely clogged. And we'll see what our main is here. And on the main, I can't tell what it is. I'm gonna try to scuff this up, but it looks like it's all marked up too, like someone was on this with a pair of vice grips. We'll see if we can't figure out what size the main is in here. But I've just got to take and get the emulsion tube out of here. I've just got to pop this out. I'm going to go ahead, get everything sprayed, all the orifices. I'm going to get this little port cleaned out. We're going to clean up real good inside of the needle area. And we should be good from there. We'll at least try that, see where we're at. I'm going to spray through all the ports here on the front and show you guys when this is cleaned up. Alright, ended up running this through the ultrasonic cleaner. It was just bad. Once I got the emulsion tube out, all of these ports on here were blocked, but I took a wire brush after running it through and got everything cleaned. Now, I can't find any markings. I guess it was just jaws from a pliers or vice grip somebody used. So I'm not sure what size jet we have for our main, but other than that, the carb came out really clean. All the ports are good to go. So at this point, you guys saw basically everything come apart on here. The only thing I didn't show was the mixture screw here on the bottom. I went ahead and I ran it in. It went in one full turn, and then I just backed it all the way out. So once I put this back in, I'm just going to run it all the way till it seats gently, and then I'm going to run it back out one turn just to see where we are at. But other than that, reassemble and we'll see what we got. Alright, I've got everything back assembled. I tried to basically level off the carb the best I could on here. There is some adjustment like side to side, but just kind of eyeballing it. This looks pretty well set. I did check too to just make sure that our slide action is good. Now this old fuel line that was on here, I have some black fuel line here of the same diameter. I went ahead and trimmed it. I'm just going to go ahead and pop that on. I don't really like these fuel filters, but this one was already on here, so we'll just leave it for now. Hopefully it doesn't break on me trying to put this fuel line on. These are just those cheap fuel filters that come with most of these kits. We'll just go ahead and pop that on. So we should be all set there. All right, fingers crossed. We did our due diligence on the carb. I'm just gonna run it without the air filter for now, see what happens. And if we need to shut this down, I'm probably just gonna have to cap it with my hand, and we'll get that kill wire figured out. Popped over on choke. Right. Engine sounds good on here. That exhaust is ridiculously loud though. That is awesome. You guys can see kill wire is not working just like I thought. But so far, I don't see any leaks on our fuel. And I don't think it'd be idling like that if we had air leaks. So that is awesome. And I'm ready to take this thing for a rip around the yard, but what I want to do is just confirm that our green wire just needs to be grounded, and there is just a stud here on the bottom of the tank we can ground this to. So we'll go ahead, just crank it up. We'll leave this in the off position, and if we ground that out and it does kill the engine, then we can go ahead and just run us just a wire extension here and find a good grounding point, and then we get this thing ripping. Should be an easy fix as long as this works. All right, easy peasy. There is a bolt right here on the pull start cover, an 8mm. I'm just gonna go ahead, I've got a little eyelet. We're gonna ground it to that. I'm gonna put some heat shrink on our wire so we can keep that a little bit nicer. And I've just got a crimp connector, so I'll get that on. Just make sure we got a secure connection. We'll slip our heat shrink over top and just get this shrunk down. We'll let that cool off. Take our 8mm bolt out. Start that back in. And then before we get too far, I'm just going to snug that down with a ratchet, just so we don't over torque this down. All right, let's see if that worked. So now we'll go to the on position. And we are good to go. So now, in case of emergency, we've at least got our kill switch working. And one thing I did notice earlier was the headlight was kind of flickering, and right in here, I guess the bars at some point have pinched the wires and actually cut through the outer, and there's some exposed wires in there. So that's another thing we're gonna have to fix. But I'm gonna get you guys set up on the chest mount, and we'll go rip this thing around the yard, see how it does. Now, I don't have any kind of speed app on the phone. Maybe you guys have at least a good app, or I know they make the Draggy, but those are kind of expensive. We're gonna be doing some mods to this. I wanna document to see how everything performs and what the differences are, so we're gonna have to figure out something for that. Let me know in the comments if you guys have some suggestions. But without further ado, we'll take it around the yard and then we'll take it up the road a little bit. we'll take this thing down the road a couple times. Well, probably pissed off the whole neighborhood with that. Probably doesn't pick it up on camera, but that exhaust is ridiculously loud. My ears are ringing. All right, so the plans are with this initially, I would like to obviously get this engine to where it is not going to self-destruct. So we'll probably do a budget build on this for a 196. We'll do the cast aluminum flywheel. We'll do some upgraded springs, upgraded rod in here. We'll do a proper governor delete because I don't think that this one is actually fully deleted on here. And if there's still the gear in there, I don't want that coming loose on us. Basically try to beef this thing up so we can turn up the RPMs on it a little bit. And I'm definitely going to get an exhaust on here with some kind of muffler. Maybe you guys have some suggestions. I just want to prolong the life of this engine so we can have some fun with it. And I'll go ahead and show you guys the other one that we're going to be working on. And here is one of the other projects we've got. This is a CT200UEX frame I bought a while back that was in really bad shape. And at the time, I just threw some paint on it with my kids. We were just testing stuff out. And last week, I started to kind of just assemble everything and get it mocked up. This engine came off a junked go-kart from a while back. Have no idea if it even runs. But basically, what I want to do with this one is I have a local course to me that does mini bike races. And they have several classes, and kind of the middle ground class is where you can delete the governor on it. You can run a 30 series torque converter. You can run an exhaust. You can run a Mikuni 22 style carb on it. And I think that's pretty much all the restrictions for that class. I want to set this one up for that initially, see how it does. We'll try to run it in a race, and then there's basically like an outlaw class after that where you can run like fully built engines, and this might make it up to that level, but we shall see. All right, well, you guys can see we've got plenty of projects coming up. I'm not new to the small engine world. I actually have another YouTube channel fixing and flipping lawnmowers. I'm kind of new to the mini bike and go-kart stuff. So we're gonna learn along the way. I'm gonna show you guys some how-to, some tutorials, and we're gonna have some fun, do some learning, and build some cool projects. So if you guys like that kind of stuff, maybe think about hitting that subscribe, leaving me a comment, and hitting that thumbs up. So on that note, we're gonna wrap it up for today, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.